When Volcano the Blast Coaster was removed in 2018, people immediately began demanding a replacement. Volcano was without a doubt one of the best rides in the park, and when it suddenly closed, we all knew they were planning something big. But now, 4 years and one pandemic later, there has still been absolutely no word from the park about what will be its successor. What did come, however, is a complete retheme to the section of the park where Volcano once stood with Jungle Expedition. Jungle Expedition, as the name implies, is themed towards the African jungles and opened with Tambili, an SNS Axis coaster, and Reptilian, a retheme to the park's old bobsled ride, Avalanche. With this new revamp to the area, this leads us to a new question. Is this all setting up King's Dominion for a new coaster themed to the jungle? We'll find out in this video. Before we start getting into coasters King's Dominion could potentially add, you need to know a little bit about the plot it sits on. As stated earlier, the plot is located in the Jungle Expedition section of the park and is pretty sizable, meaning it can fit a large-scale coaster. You also need to know about some of the trends with King's Dominion and how its competition with Busch Gardens could affect their decision on what to add. But anyways, in the past 10 years, King's Dominion has removed 3 different roller coasters, with Shockwave and Hurler in 2015, and as I mentioned, Volcano in 2018. Throughout this time span, they have only added 2 new coasters, with Twisted Timbers, which is a hybrid conversion of Hurler, and now Tambili, and let's just be real, that thing is just a filler coaster. So with the lack of new additions and excessive amounts of removal, the park is definitely due for a new major coaster, so I think we can scratch off the possibility of a family coaster being added. When you look at the park's lineup, there's one thing that is pretty obviously missing that could easily fit into the plot: an inverted coaster. With that, you may be thinking, why don't they just get one? Well, the problem with that is Busch Gardens Williamsburg, which is located under an hour away. They already have an inverted coaster with Alpengeist, so if they tried to also add one themselves, the average parkgoer might just see it as a copy of Alpengeist. Anyways, with all that aside, let's get into what I could see King's Dominion potentially adding. I narrowed down all of the options to just 3 potential choices, and let's start off what I believe is the least likely out of the 3 to happen. That coaster is a mock multi-launch. Since Volcano was a launch coaster, this could carry out the legacy of Volcano and fill in the park's gap of needing a modern, intense launch coaster. If King's Dominion were to add a mock multi-launch coaster, it would probably be similar to Copperhead Strike at Carowinds and feature many hang-time filled diversions and intense pops of airtime. A mock multi-launch would have been perfect for King's Dominion if it wasn't for one problem coming from Busch Gardens Williamsburg: Pantheon. Pantheon is an Intamin multi-launch coaster that opened in 2022, and although it is different from the mock multi-launch coasters, just like I mentioned earlier, the average parkgoer could find it as a copy of Pantheon. Despite that though, I still think there's a real chance of this happening, and I put it as the 3rd most likely to come to King's Dominion. Anyways, what I have as the 2nd most likely coaster for King's Dominion is a B&M Wing coaster. As I stated earlier in this video, King's Dominion could really use an inverted coaster. And what is the perfect substitution for an inverted coaster, you ask? A B&M Wing. This coaster would complement Dominator as the 2nd inversion-focused ride in the park, and it would fill in many of the gaps the park has. The biggest gap I would be filling is something hanging off the track. This ride would probably be one of the larger wing coasters. It could potentially fit in some floater hills like on Gatekeeper to fill the void of floater airtime in the park. There was actually a layout leaked of a B&M Wing coaster replacing Volcano back in 2019. However, since there have been absolutely no more lead stunts, I believe there's definitely a chance that these plans have been scrapped. This is definitely extremely likely to come to this plot. However, there's one coaster that I think has a better chance. Now, what I think King's Dominion is getting in 2023 is a Vekoma flying coaster. I haven't really heard many people talk about this model coming to King's Dominion, but there are many great reasons why this could be added. To start off, this would be the first modern Vekoma flying coaster in the United States. In fact, it would be the 2nd installed in the whole world. Right now, the only current modern Vekoma flyer is Fly at Phantasialand. Although it definitely would not be as greatly themed as Fly, King's Dominion could potentially go for the tallest and fastest launched flying coaster in the world. Overall, a Vekoma flyer would just be unlike anything else in the country and fill in many of the gaps that King's Dominion has. Anyways, now that I've given what I believe the 3 most likely coasters to come to the park are, I will be giving the likelihood of each coaster actually happening. I give a mock multi-launch a 5% chance of happening, a B&M Wing coaster a 40% chance of happening, a Vekoma flyer a 45% chance of happening, and a 10% chance that something completely different that was unmentioned gets installed. Anyways, that is it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, maybe consider subscribing. I'm still a very new channel to YouTube, and I hope to reach 200 subs by the end of the year. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and goodbye.